This question is, how do you approach character development in your comics, and what techniques do you use to make your characters feel authentic and relatable? So I'm going to start with Tony on this one.
Okay, so I do pretty extensive outlines on my characters. They all have kind of bulleted outlines. The classic things that you need: a want, a need. They have 3 flaws. They've got a secret. I usually I give them a voice, just to kind of, it's really sort of a placeholder thing. I'll usually choose like a movie star or something like that, just somebody whose films or TV shows I've seen a lot of, that I can kind of like keep it in my head. And that just is to help me make sure that the characters don't sound the same when I'm writing them. And to give them some life. I do these kind of like unofficial like story arcs for them. They're not they don't have full scenes. It's not a full subplot total outline. It's just more background sort of a background arc, so that when the reader is you see like the bartender in Star Noir, you feel like they're not a position player, that they have something going on. And then as far as the main characters go, I always kind of give them, non-direct plot related things going on with their life. Like, somebody's broken up with them, they've lost a job, like that's just an aspect of their life. So you kind of feel like there's a lot going on with them.
Awesome. How about you, George? We'll go with you second on this one.
I also sit down and just write down, give them a bio, basically who they were, where they came from, and all this stuff. I like to go into things like, sometimes depending on the character, like if it's a main character, for example, first 10 years of their lives, what was it like? What were they like when they were kids? What were they, you give them that, so that if I'm ever writing a scene or I have to, and I'm stuck with, whether it's dialogue or something like that, I can go into the stories that I've written for them when they were 10 years, something that happened to them when they were young, and it becomes part of the dialogue or something like that. Some of that explains why they are the way they are, who they are, and things like that. So I'll do that. And yeah, a lot of it is just bios, just bios of who they were, what they were doing, and just breaking it down that way. Also, I tend to use maybe just friends that I knew or something like that. A friend with a really interesting personality. You know what I mean? I'll inject that into the character to make them look good, to make them a little different or whatever. But yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
Awesome. How about you, Nandor?
Yes, so I really ask myself all the same questions, a lot of questions. I'm always asking myself, okay, what brought this character here? Why are they here? What have they gone through to get to this point? What is their motivation? Like when an actor's like, what's my motivation or whatever. It's like, why is it important that they have a line of dialogue here? Why is it important that they're in this scene? I think it's important to, like, because a lot of my stories are very like character driven, and you have the main character, a lot of the world around them and the characters around them, they all sort of bounce off of the main character. It's like what makes them different. What's the contrast that I can give this character that the main character doesn't have? What is something that they could be good at that the main character isn't good at? And so that's kind of my anchor, and then everything else about the world and the characters kind of stems from that. It's kind of a good like goalpost or guiding point foundation for me to make everything else feel different, and so that the characters aren't sounding the same, and they're not always kind of just echo chambers of one another. Thankfully, like a story like Man-Child, where a lot of the characters are geeks, they're huge comic book fans. I've been able to really kind of bask in all of my knowledge of comic fandom and all the people that I've met over the years, and really integrate a lot of those same conversations and those grievances and problems that we have with comic book culture, or things we love about comic book culture, and inject that into the characters themselves. And so that's been really helpful in being like, because there's some people in their little cliques in fandom. It's like people who just love manga, people that just love old superhero comics, people that just love movies, you know, people that have only seen the MCU movies and they have no idea like that Captain America like has had a comic for 80 years. You know, it's like there's all these different versions and kind of interpretations of what it means to be a fan. And so like that in particular with that story has been really helpful just because I'm so close to it. But with, you know, other characters and other stories that I've worked on, it really what a character is going through, like put, you know, I put a lot of characters through a lot of torture, a lot of pain, a lot of struggle, and that's where you find who they are. And it's all about like reacting, like how does the character react to the situation? And that really breeds like, oh, like if I put this character through this situation in the plot, how would they react? That brings up like a question for me to go, why would they react that way? And then that can create sort of a backstory or an idea for something that would help them, you know, resolve that problem. And so, you know, there are some things about my characters I won't know until I'm writing them, you know, because the plot brings it up, or there's something that I'm like, you know, this scene like needs to be juicy, or like there needs to be something here that I'm missing. And so you'll go back and you'll be like, okay, this needs to happen here. They need to like respond to this a certain way. But I think when it comes to characters, it's really about, you know, the basic things of like, you know, their role in the world. You know, do they have a job, their parents, their family, the, you know, siblings, all that kind of stuff. You know, what makes you who you are? You can look at your own life and be like, you know, why do I live here? You know, is it because my parents grew up here? Like all that kind of stuff. It helps inform the character and what they're doing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Johnny, do you have anything to add to that? I mean, I think these guys nailed it.
These guys nailed it. They kind of really, you know, they summed everything up. I was just going to say, I mean, there's some moments where if you know your character well enough, they just kind of speak for themselves. So, you know, they kind of take the wheel and you type and you'll know whatever scenario to put them in. I was just going to say one little thing I sometimes do when I find myself stuck, like what would a character say or what a character do, is just to put them in different scenarios that are completely irrelevant to the comic. What would they be like at this point? What would they be like at a supermarket trying to pick milk and somebody's standing in their way? Title change.